the way Rob Reiner does now. Clint Eastwood Jr. was born on May 31, 1930 in San Francisco. He was born during the Great Depression, when stability was a luxury and survival was the most important thing. His family moved around California in search of work, and that nomadic childhood taught him how to be independent and how to keep his feelings to himself. Clint wasn't loud or showy when he was a kid. He didn't say much, but he watched everything and only spoke when he needed to. Later, that calm, attentive edge became his signature look in cinema. Music, especially jazz and piano, was his first way to get away from it all. It helped him learn how to control his mood, rhythm, and feelings. This straightforward approach would later shape his directing style. There was no quick way to become famous after high school. Eastwood worked many different professions like lifeguard, lumberjack, and gas station attendant. Working with regular people taught him how to be tough through experience. That blue-collar life lingered with him and never went away. Hollywood did not extend a warm welcome to him either. Clint got into acting practically by accident after serving in the U.S. Army. In the middle of the 1950s, Universal Pictures signed him, but they got rid of him almost as quickly. The people in charge of the studio claimed he looked bad, his voice was bad, and he had no charisma. They intended to inflict pain on him. Instead, they made him stronger. Clint was patient, kept practicing, took leftovers, and wouldn't let himself be a studio puppet. In 1959, he eventually got his big break with Rawhide, where he played Rowdy Yates for 8 long seasons. The compensation was steady, but he felt stuck artistically. So he did something crazy. He gave up American TV for Italian movies. That bet shook up the business. The Dollars trilogy by Sergio Leone, which includes A Fistful of Dollars, For a Few Dollars More, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, not only brought his career back to life, but also made him a legend. Those movies weren't merely successful. They turned the Western genre on its head. Man with No Name by Clint Eastwood wasn't a bombastic, chest-thumping hero. He hardly spoke or blinked, but he still took up every frame. His frigid look, his sluggish walk, and his quietness spoke volumes. It communicated more than pages and pages of dialogue ever could. He wasn't a clean-cut hero like they used to be. And that's why it hurt so much. Eastwood changed the way men looked on screen. There were no speeches, no show, and no need for approval. His strength stemmed from his ability to maintain composure, maintain presence, and evoke a constant sense of something frightening lurking beneath the surface. People in the audience felt it right away. The success of those movies didn't merely make him famous. It gave him the power. He was in charge of his responsibilities, his path, and his future. Something that Hollywood virtually never gives away. Clint didn't seek permission anymore when he came back to Hollywood in the late 1960s and 1970s. He was in charge. Movies like Dirty Harry made him a big star at the box office. People fought about Harry Callahan all the time because he was rude, blunt, and unforgiving. Some others thought he was a voice for the rage of the people. Some people thought he was too extreme. Eastwood didn't back down. He made it apparent that his characters weren't just slogans. They were difficult people who lived in untidy places. Critics were most startled by how wide his range was. He wasn't stuck in one lane. He dabbled in a variety of genres, including westerns, action movies, thrillers, dramas, and comedies. He went through all of it. Movies like Play Misty for Me, High Plains Drifter, The Outlaw, Josie Wales, Every Which Way But Loose, and Escape from Alcatraz showed that he wasn't only a tough guy. He was changing quickly. Clint was taking it all in behind the scenes. He wasn't simply pretending. He was learning, trying things out, and honing his intuition. His directing technique was crisp and daring when he totally embraced it. He used few takes, relied on natural light, and avoided any wasted motion. He trusted the performers and let the tales grow instead of forcing them. His movies went deep into serious stuff. His films explored themes such as aging, remorse, violence, redemption, and the consequences of decisions. Not showy lessons, but silent punches that came in late. In 1992, Unforgiven made that idea come true. The movie destroyed the myth of the brave gunslinger and showed what the legend really cost. It was too big for the industry to ignore. Clint won Academy Awards for Best Director and Best Picture for Unforgiven, which made him a real power in the cinema industry. After that, he had hit after hit. Mystic River, $1 Million Baby, Letters from Iwo Jima, Gran Torino, Changeling, and American Sniper are all movies, each one adding to his legacy. And it wasn't simply Americans who respected him. He won 3 Caesar Awards in Europe, which showed that his work had an effect beyond borders. The AFI Life Achievement Award is another one that shows Clint Eastwood didn't just act in movies, he also changed them. The Venice Film Festival gave Clint Eastwood the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement in 2000, which is one of the highest prizes in world film. By then, he was already a big star around the world. It wasn't just about one hit or one time. It was a tribute to decades of work that was based on murky moral areas, subdued emotions, and a directing voice that got sharper with age. Not only did France like Eastwood, it gave him the crown. In 1994, the country that treats movies like fine art appointed him a commander since his work had a huge impact on culture all across the world. Then they went all in. He got the Legion of Honor, France's highest civilian award, in 2007. That put Clint in a small group, artists who have an impact on people of many ages, languages, and countries. When you look at all of these awards, they tell a clear story. Eastwood was more than just a success. He was ageless. His legacy wasn't tied to one country or decade. It keeps getting bigger and changing the way movies are made around the world. Clint's marriage to Margaret Maggie Neville Johnson was the longest and most tumultuous relationship he ever had, away from the public eye. They met in 1953 when Clint was poor, unknown, and living life with no guarantees. He was doing odd jobs like being a lifeguard or a laborer to make ends meet while chasing his dreams that kept getting away from him. Maggie was calm, smart, and stable, the opposite of Clint's future, which is hard to foretell. When everything else was unsteady, she brought equilibrium. On December 19, 1953, they got married and began a partnership that would last for more than 30 years. At first, money problems were serious and success seemed far away. Maggie stayed strong with all that doubt. She had a lot of emotional baggage, whereas Clint kept getting turned down. When Rawhide finally came out in 1959, everything changed quickly. Fame, money, and attention came in, as did stress. Clint's marriage was always under stress as his star rose with Sergio Leone's Man with No Name movies and later Dirty Harry. The spotlight didn't simply transform his job, it changed their whole life. Success came quickly, loudly, and heavily, and it put their tie to the test in ways they never could have imagined. The grind never stopped, even as Clint's career took off. That adjustment made everything at home different. His schedule got busier, he became more independent, and the marriage started to lose its balance. Maggie kept away from the noise of Hollywood. Instead of red carpets and headlines, she chose to live a quiet life. Over time, the difference between Clint's public image and Maggie's peaceful life became even more obvious. Their marriage was anything but smooth. It became normal for them to be separated for long periods of time, and Clint's cheating was well known, something he later confirmed without denying it. They were still legally married for decades, though. It wasn't denial. They stayed together because of their shared sense of obligation, complexity, and responsibility. They had 2 kids. Kyle Eastwood, who was born in 1968 and became a well-known jazz musician, and Allison Eastwood, who was born in 1972 and became an actor and filmmaker. Maggie kept the family together by focusing on stability and keeping the kids as far away from Hollywood insanity as she could. Maggie and Clint officially split up in 1978 after 25 hard years. But that wasn't the end of the story. The divorce took a long time, until 1984, which showed how messed up their lives and money had gotten. It sent shockwaves through Hollywood when it ultimately closed. The payout was huge, showing how successful Clint was and how long Maggie had been by his side during his rise. Even after they broke up, Clint Eastwood never forgot about Maggie Johnson. She was there before the celebrity, dealt with the stress when it came, and helped raise their kids away from the industry's excesses. Clint's connection with them wasn't ideal, but it changed how he thought about family, duty, and the real cost of ambition. Clint Eastwood is 95 years old and speaks very clearly now. No need to make things sound better or more impressive. He isn't simply thinking about his own life after more than 70 years in Hollywood. He is seeing a transformation in the industry and evaluating the individuals who emerged to embody those changes, including people like Rob Reiner, who have learned from their mistakes and lived with the results. When Clint Eastwood talks about Rob Reiner, he doesn't get angry, make cheap comments, or let anger show. Instead, his voice stays calm, thoughtful, and based on something deeper. A belief that Hollywood has lost sight of its original goal. As a filmmaker, I've never had a problem with Rob. He says he's good at what he does. You can't make the movies he's made if you don't know how to write characters in time. Eastwood gives credit where it's due. He is very open about how much he admires Reiner's early work. Movies that are funny, warm, and real. Clint thinks that such movies originated from a time when Hollywood cared more about making good pictures than sending messages. Stories used to try to get people to work together, not split them up. Reiner isn't the only thing that bothers Eastwood. It's the movement around him. At some point, the business stopped being about interest. Eastwood says it became about being sure, and being sure is bad for art. Reiner, in his opinion, now stands for a Hollywood group that has trouble with disagreement and mixes up strong ideas with moral superiority. Clint makes a clear distinction between that way of thinking and his own. I never thought it was my role to instruct people how to think. He explains, my job was to show people who they are. Even his most controversial movies, whether they were westerns, war stories, or quiet character studies, weren't sermons. Eastwood had faith in the ability of people to think for themselves. Clint says that politics isn't what really divides him and Reiner. It's a philosophy. Rob wants to win fights. I want to ask questions, Eastwood replies. He talks of a time when Hollywood lived on creative friction, when artists with very diverse viewpoints could nonetheless work together without having to agree. That world doesn't feel real anymore. Eastwood remembers a period when you could disagree and still respect each other. People today see disagreement as a weakness in themselves instead of a sign of growth. Clint thinks that Reiner's vocal involvement is part of a wider trend. People who work in entertainment think that loudness is good and certainty is true. At 95, Eastwood isn't looking for praise. He's talking about things he's seen and done for decades, and he says that Hollywood has lost something fundamental along the way. Moral certainty shuts doors that storytelling should keep open. Eastwood doesn't express this in an angry way. He phrases it like a warning. He also makes sure not to make himself look like a victim. No one is stopping me from speaking. He says, I've said what I needed to say. What really scares him is the next round of filmmakers, the ones who think they have to follow the rules. He says they're afraid to be honest, and Clint thinks that fear quickly kills creativity. He admits right out that fear has never generated good art. Eastwood stops when asked if Rob Reiner even hears this criticism. He says he doesn't know. People only hear what they want to hear. He makes one thing obvious. These aren't personal attacks. This is about a system that makes people more angry than it helps them understand. Eastwood believes that Rob didn't make that system, but he feels at home in it. Clint, who is 95, has no interest in settling scores. His voice stays steady, like he's not really there. He argues that life is too short for holding grudges. Trophies and bragging rights at the box office don't matter right now. It's liberty, the freedom to tell stories without any limits. Eastwood says, "I'd rather make a movie that makes people feel bad than one that tells them they're perfect." Eastwood's truth about Rob Reiner isn't too shocking. It's sad. An artist feels a quiet pain when they see an industry trade curiosity for conformity. Eastwood remarks, "Hollywood used to be a place where outsiders fit in. Everyone is striving to show that they are on the inside now. That change is much more important to Clint than any one name could ever be." Like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment if you liked this breakdown and want to see more stories like it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.